Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching again. I have today one of the most dynamic young person growing in South Africa today, leading the youth of the opposition party, Democratic Alliance Youth. This is Nicholas Nyati. We've seen him and his big voice, gravel voice, and loud, voice arguing for his part, his party, and his place in society. We've seen him moving and shaking in Nelson Mandela Bay, the Eastern Cape, and now he's leading the country's youth in blue. In blue. I want you to welcome the son, Kirkwood, and I want you to welcome one of the former presidents of SRC in Nelson Mandela University, someone who has been seen leading during the times of Fees Must Fall, and I've seen him accounting and counting some of his successes from there. And then he started being a spokesperson in the municipality, not just a formal person, but starting to speak on behalf of even the campaigns, the mayoral campaign in 2016 that I can remember. And I've seen him building strong linkages and friendship across political lines. You have to be something different of a leader that you've not seen, how comfortable you are across board in speaking to different people in different spaces. I want to know, who is Nicholas?
Yeah, Olwam, thank you for having me. I have to say this is an honor in my medium political career. This is the only second podcast that I'm ever attending.
Is it?
I've received many invites, but when you gave me a call, I was like, shit, I have to honor this one. I apologize for the language, but
No, thank you so much. I'm sure the kids are sleeping.
Even yesterday, I got a call from Rob Hessoff. He's like, hey, Nick, you need to attend this podcast. I'm like, hey, man, after Olwam, but I have to honor this one. So thank you for having me. And I think you guys are doing a great work here. Nicholas Nyati is a 29-year-old, born in a small citrus farming community of Kirkwood, Abantu bathi kusema Orangeni. That's where I come from. I was born to a single mother that I love very much. My father passed away when I was 7. And I think that's where I really got to use the name Nicholas, because my first name is Abiso Nicholas Nyati. But Utata was the one who gave me the name Nicholas. He was into politics. He wanted to name me Nkululeko Freedom. Wathi mama, not with my son. Nkululeko ngumalume wakhe lencila andifuna umntana abe Nkululeko. Freedom ungenapho lo mntana ko freedom. Then my dad had to come up with an innovative name. Hence the name Nicholas. It means it's a Greek name meaning victory for the people. So when he passed away, I was like, I'm going to go by Nicholas just to
So
honor his
basically,
memory.
Nicholas is still Ngulego. Victory for the people.
But yeah. But but it's victory for the people.
Yes.
So that's who I am. That's who I am. I'm an open book. I'm friends with everyone.
Yeah, no, I've seen that. I've seen not just and remember, this is new to be able to befriend across political lines. It's new because just before the imperatives of coalition government, it was difficult to speak publicly that your friend is this, and to actually have sort of conversations publicly and work with people. And I don't want you to even think that this is natural and easy. It's something that we are learning. Like, actually, you can go around and speak and befriend and lead, across your party political lines. And Anna, where do you draw that from? Where, besides, maybe, where do you take that from?
I think the Tadabutamkol. My grandfather was a church-going person. So at home, we used to have different types of people. So at Kirkwood, where I come from, because of spatial planning, the black people here, a Bishop, and then there's colored people here. And there used to be those, I don't want to call them wars, but there used to be those fights. But at home, everyone was welcome. And you would get a sense that Utamkulu does not drink, does not smoke, goes to church, but you would allow Manxele endlini. And I would always used to ask him, "Let's be tikaramadongi siyoteza." But Tamkulu, awuseli nje now, why you meya kutamkhulu bani ayoselela endlini? And he used to say to me, but how do I get to understand him? And also, because ekholela kwilizwi yena, he used to say, "Mna, who am I to judge people?" So when I joined politics, I said, I can't say UDM is bad or that party is bad without actually understanding the members there, but why did they join? And also, politicians are people. I think we forget that. Umdu ati anted no banbani ANC. We are human beings. You get. So my philosophy has always been, let me allow different people, different thinking. My biggest friends, Chris Sweep, Azapo Secretary General National, Azapo DA, completely different things. He even calls me, "Hey Nick, I saw your statement. You are wrong here." We even debate over the phone. And that's how you grow even as a leader. You need people to challenge you. I was calling Young before he contested. I said, "Yeah man, UDM party miss. He's the only one. He's never contested." And
I hope he comes. I'm here to extend the invitation to him, but I know he won't necessarily say no.
And then he said, "No, Nick, you don't understand how the UDM works. Let's go and meet Ngwangwa." That's how I got to meet Ngwangwa. And I got to understand these people and the different things that they think. You get to debate with them. And there are some common grounds, but obviously there are some ideological differences. And I think that's what is missing in South African politics. People think it's about Nicholas, yet it's about the people. If mna we can agree that ubani udinga amanzi udinga umbani, noma ungabayi azapho ube yintoni, let's chat.
That's a human need. That's a human.
So I think for me it was natural. It was natural. Like ndihlala nawo lamajita omnyasele ndimfunqule. I don't even think that you're my default and don't expose on Facebook. Why?
Yeah.
You get, because
okay, let's come back, Ngogo, because other than just your upbringing, you have had a serious government, history, not a history, but experience. From your student leadership days to council, what did you have to change about the way that your outlook on leadership? What did you have to sort of update? Before then we go to the national space, but just for as a student to council, as a leader, what do you have to adapt to?
I think, in student leadership, I was president. So I made the rules. Now you come to council, you are bottom of the food chain, you still energetic, you have all these ideas, and you are being told, the caucus has decided. And I'm like, no, man, no. And even when I first joined the caucus, people didn't understand why during break in council, I would go and sit with ANC councillors. Abo, Yobo at the time, because we didn't have these young councillors at that time. I would go and chill with Otu, me, and people are like, why
Yobo is the current MMC of corporate affairs.
Yes, corporate services. Utumi is Impact, Those are my people. Utumi Ndimazilezwit. She's friends with my family.
And I know both of them because we're from the same sort of hood.
Yeah.
Two in the same ward, and then New York just across.
Yeah, what do you New York?
I'm from Ward 18. So
you get, and it was taboo. Yes. People used to look at me and hey, I went to speak to Unito. Why do these people look at me
also
differently?
From Ward 18.
Why do they look at me differently? And then he explained to me, but no, when uphuma nala mentality asesikoleni that you can still interact with people, and here it's different. Just tone down here, and so I had to adjust in that manner. But if I was to thank someone, our former mayor or Athol, that man, I still respect him. He had a chief of staff by the name of Christoph Adalbert, and Christoph simplified.
And it's not because you were a youth spokesperson of his campaign.
maybe that's why, I don't know. Yes. But he explained politics, but now he was friends with Banba and then called people from different organizations. People like Peter Telebrand would speak greatly about the late Mr. Ndoni, who was the chief whip of the ANC. And Nimbo said, "Hey man, Peter, why do you speak?" He's like, "Nicholas, we are human beings. Yes, there will be other councillors from our own party who don't understand the relations, but when just understand your why. Why did you join politics? If your why is to fight people, then you can hate. But if your why is to liberate people and assist people, why must you fight any other person? Fight for the principle. The law, because he's corrupt, not the individual. You get so. Those are the people who.
Ethel Trollip was quite impactful in local politics, but then now he has left the DA. I don't want you to go deep into it, but I want to find out, how do you reconcile the fact that some of the people that you've looked up to now have to go and be in opposition to what they taught you to be. How do you reconcile with the changes that are taking place, that some of the people, and I've seen you answering some of these questions on other platforms, MacG in particular, but how do you reconcile when who is still growing into the organization and there's this perception that is changing within the organization?
I think with Ethel, the last time I saw him was at the P golf course. There was a mayor's cap or something. And I greeted him, because he's not an enemy to me. But on the ground, we are campaigning for different political parties.
Yeah.
And I think his experience and maturity, he understands that. And if we are Mjonga, he's not a person who went out and necessarily bashed the DA. What I don't appreciate, especially when I answered in that MacG podcast, we can't be here, and I know you as an individual. I know your leadership style. I know the work that you've done in the party. You go out, you see there's racism, you see there's oppression of black people, you see all these other things. You get. Yet when you were internal, you were part of that thing. I'll make you an example. The party has a program called Young Leaders. We look for the best 20 leaders in the country. We go, we train them. It's like our leadership incubator program. We train them for a whole year. I didn't make that program. For me not to make that program, there was 5 people in the panel. You have to get 100% vote. The person who voted against me was black. And today, that person left and says the DA is racist.
And we know that person.
I'm like, yeah, you are here blocking us, gatekeeping us here. Now you are going out there, you're saying, when I won this thing of DA youth, people said, Gumduga Helen. You get. And they didn't understand. What I respect about Helen is that she sees potential. Me and Helen used to fight. We would fight, like, it's a debate, and she appreciated that. But what I've noticed is that most of the people who've left, when we used to fight with them internally, abayithathela punch, because umntubona is now. And I think it's cultural, because most of them are black. So it's like, hey, young man, who do you think you are? But with the other leaders that I've interacted with, at least there's some sort of respect, mutual respect. For me, I applied 5 times before I could make it as a councillor. Got rejected 5 times. When you read the minutes, the only person speaking against you, Gumkhulu wakho. You get. For me to make it as a councillor, the people who were in that panel was Athol and all these other people. And they said, no, this young man has got great skills, let's give him a chance. Now you expect me to go and say, there was racism. Come on.
And I get that, and I appreciate it. I just want to go to now this question of growing as a student leader into council. One thing, what do you have to leave behind? What do you have to put on as a new garment into like local, regional politics? Or is there anything? You can. I have been a student leader. I was a deputy president of the SRC at Nelson Mandela University as well. But when you get to community, you realize that, of course, you've mentioned that you have to start afresh and you have to grow because now the dynamics have changed. But what is the attribute you can attach to that?
I think...
Is it humility? Because now you are president and then now you have to go. Is it respect? What do you attribute to that ability to succeed even after that? I
think it's 2 things. It's humility, which will obviously be determined by your upbringing. You get. So that one, if you remember our student politics, you had to also have that sense of arrogance, so that you can you can still command students. Remember, students are very energetic. Kandi, in this side, you leave that arrogance. You have to show the humble side, kakul, so that you get the respect of the older generation. Then the second aspect for me, personally, I think it was resilience. Was it's tricky there. Remember with us in student politics, everything is happening within a year.
Yeah.
That side, it can take years or it can happen now and your career can end, you get. So the resilience aspect, and I think with that it was sport that played a role. In your book, you know,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I relate to that because I think sports plays a huge role in mentality. And that for me helped a lot. And also don't be shy of hard work. Um, I think in our politics, for you to make it, you have to really sacrifice. I had to stop drinking. I stopped drinking for 5 years. And that's not 5 years young. Because as a young person, people are expecting Baolinglila or unresponsible. You will be late for meetings, all these things. And one of the people who were mentoring me would always say, if your meeting Yako is at this time, arrive at this time, you get. If you can't make it, call. If, you know, all those things, show humility. And as a young person, you have to do those things 5 times more for you to be recognized. And I think that's why it was easy for me to just,
The changing of behavior, and these are important because we can't keep on calling young people into leadership position, and then because of their ill discipline and behavior and lack of maturity, they can't hold those positions. And that's what I was trying to get with him, because there must be some staying power that you have, and to transition from that regional kind of politics now into national politics. What is it that you need then?
national politics, it's another ball game. Especially in the DA, and you are black, and there's media.
Yeah.
It was a tough one. I will not lie. Even now, I'm still finding my feet. My phone is there. I was going to show you a message from Helen. She's brilliant. She sent me a message and said, so on that day, I was speaking to her saying, hey, Helen, this media coverage, these praises, they're getting to my head. You know? And I don't
you
know
need
how
to put them somewhere.
I don't know how to handle them. Because I can sense now, even when I speak, I feel like I'm like, yeah, I'm the man, I'm the youth leader nationally. And she said to me, most leaders fail because they think that they've already reached the mountaintop. They don't understand that you are still on an incline. When I look at you, you can achieve great things. I only ask one thing, just remain humble and honest to your why. Why did you join politics? Not for me, but for yourself and your own family. Then I took that. I went home that weekend. And when I was home, people, young kids were saying, hey, Nangu uput ban, we look up to you. And I took that and what Helen was saying and these kids, I was like, you have a great responsibility. It's no longer about Nicholas now or my friends, but it's about every young person, Opuma, in a small farming community, to be able to lead this opposition, the official opposition of the country. You sit in all DA meetings, national executive, NEC, everything. All DA meetings you are there. You shape the direction of this country. It's no longer about you. So that thing for me, it was a scary one. It was a big transition. Even now, it's a responsibility that they are every day. It's because I don't want to fail. I feel like if I fail, I wouldn't be failing myself, but the next generation. And it's huge. I will not lie.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, again we have Nicholas. I almost said a Nicholas Cage. But let me tell you the conditions. We are freezing. It's winter. And I've been sitting under the shade for some time. And I realized that, you know what, I should actually have had more fire and so that we can keep warm. But I'm glad that I have such a guest that is able to articulate himself, that is able to be honest and kind in his responses. That is important. That's humility that enables us also not to feel like we are attacking, but also learning from the person that he is. I want to get to the next phase of this conversation, and it's a bit of a fun part. I've stacked a list of books. I want you to look at anything that pops up out, whether it's a name, whether it's a book you've read or anything. But anything, man.
The first one was Helen Suzman.
Because I know.
Helen Suzman, she was a fierce woman.
Yeah.
She led DA, which was PFP at the time, for 12 years, Helen Suzman, and she was alone. It was a difficult time, and I think it speaks to resilience, to have that sort of resilience. I mean, she had an opportunity to just say, I'm white, let me take the benefits from this apartheid government. But she understood her principles, she understood what she felt. And for a woman to make it in a male-dominated terrain, alone for 12 years.
And one thing about this book, sorry, before you finish, the foreword is written by, Nelson Mandela.
She was the first one to visit them in Robben Island.
Yeah. Is there another book? There's another thing, because of course, we do know that the rebranding, but for any of us that would have seen, at least in the year 2000, that's when, for me, I would say DA as it is started to be. I know some of the National Party people went to the ANC, others, and there's a whole history. This is not about that conversation.
Yeah.
I just want for people to know that, I mean, there's information that people can search on. For this one, I want you to tell us anything else about another book that you want to say?
This one, Uskhamela.
Yes.
You know what was nice about this book?
Yeah.
I read it. I think I was going to a meeting at Joburg with the party's leadership. I think I quoted you more than 4 times there. You know, there is an author who says, and I think you simplified leadership, you get. Because when I read that book, you would speak about your coach and what he would say in rugby. And I was like, yeah, man, now I can relate to this thing.
Yeah.
So that was leadership. You get. So I think that's what made it beautiful. You know, there's a writing style that I remember you spoke about your wife in a chapter. Like, I can see, I don't know, man, you painted a picture. You took me to it. I think it was
what
very
I'm
nice.
trying to do, honestly, now I know he's not interviewing me, but I think what I'm trying to do is that we have attributed leadership external to us for a long time. A leader is that person, a leader is that person. But there are attributes that you get from your father that enables you to stand in a position of leadership, but he might not have said that to you. There are some influences that you got from your mother. There's some influences that you got from your coach, from sport. You play fencing, right? From that, you need to have an environmental scan, awareness. Who is here? What is here? My opponents, how do I make myself as a thinner surface area from which this person would miss any time? How do I form part of this collective, that our collective force pushes the opposition into their own yard, and therefore we can actually penetrate. And all of these things, when you're sitting on a leadership platform, addressing young people, looking at the political environment at that time, it's the same principles differently. And my questioning style to you right now, I started asking from SRC, are there any connections? And because that, in effect, is what enables you to be growing as a leader. That's what I think I'm trying to do with my book, taking it away from politics and everyone. Just look at us. Sometimes you are ashamed as a leader. How do you deal with shame? How do you package that? Sometimes you feel like you're getting pompous. You are being praised, as you are saying. How do you make sense of that? And we don't talk about that a lot when it comes to our leaders. And I don't want to miss it from you as well. Amago as fuck.
If you know this brand, the lady is actually in EFF Treasurer General in the region. She's like, Nick, I'm selling this. I'm like, okay. I will not go to Facebook and say support black business. I'll actually support it.
Yeah.
So that's how I got this jacket.
That's an interesting one. That's an
That's
interesting one.
I
I wanted to ask because I'm also familiar with the and you are deliberate. Now you are leading the youth opposition, the opposition organization in the youth front. Where are you taking them?
When I took over, or when delegates elected me, I had two running points. I'm going to take you to Congress, and I'm going to rebuild the structure. Then I leave it. I'm not going to recontest. That's what I said to them in my manifesto.
It's really interim.
In my manifesto. Then when I got in, the party was undergoing a question. Leaders were saying, what's the contribution that ancillary structures add to the organization? Dear youth, what are you guys adding? What value are you adding? And I was like, okay, I spoke about restructuring. Now, how do I answer that question of what value are we adding? And I said, we're young people, we like to make noise, but we're not making noise in the right spaces. I then said, look, the DA is governing some municipalities, and the province. Let's influence the policy of the DA. The first thing that I did was to establish in the structure a policy unit where we had people dealing with different policies. Well, because I think that's the mistake that young people don't do. Now the time to just cry is over. You need to say, here's the problem, here's the solution, and here are the steps. And if you watched our Congress, National Congress, we influenced about 21.7% of the Congress resolutions that were taken in the DA National Conference. We spoke about agriculture, spoke about different things, and all these things are going to contribute to the economy, and they are going to be implemented in our governments. That was the first thing, because I wanted to address this thing of unemployment. I'm not going to come and say, young people need jobs. Where are the jobs going to come from? Yesterday, the chairperson of the DA Youth, I gave him a call. I said, Chief, I've organized for you to go to Agricultural Research Council. Go there, speak to those people, interact with them, because they are the #1 contributor to our economy. We need to enter that space. I'm not going to march against them. I'm going to say, how can we work together? So he had that meeting with them yesterday. Next week I'm going to Cape Town to get a feedback from him and meet other people. So I said to the DA, give me a year to take this thing and put it at the center of South African politics. I'm not just going to have marches, but I'm going to meet different people. I met with Rob Hessoff, good friend of mine. I said, dear Chief, what is business doing? I'm not going to go to the meet and say, we don't want what monopoly capital. Go to business, interact with business. How can business contribute towards uplifting people? And that has always been my leadership style, result-orientated. Then in terms of the party itself, we are saying to them, we're going to bring them votes, because that's what they want. We will bring them votes. But these votes are coming with all the policies that we want as the youth. And I said to Helen, deliberately so, I want you guys to hold me accountable. The youth, there must be a dashboard to say, the youth brought this number of votes. If we bring anything less than 1 million, I'll be the first one to step down. I'll step down, we'll give it to someone else, or you can even disband the structure. And I said, in terms of media, if I ever mess up any interview, I want the party to hold me accountable. That's what you do as a leader. And if you've seen my interviews, I don't sleep. I research, because it's more than just me. It's about every other young child from a Kirkwood who one day would like to be president of South Africa, to say, but Nicholas could do it. And it's a difficult thing, that thing. It's not easy, because sometimes you say things that make people uncomfortable. It's part of the game, but you're delivering how you say them.
And then, another question is, how do you then prepare this crop of young leaders that are coming into the organization, that are in the organization, to deal with this world that you're changing? What sort of training, what sort of thinking, what sort of aspirations, what sort of, because I know the conversation we've had, but you are bad and we're going to do, but now that you have this group of people, what is in the forefront of your mind as to how to prepare them, and what do you say to them?
It's not easy, I will not lie. Antwakwa, They say, Nick, you are diplomatic. Nick, don't. I'm like, but guys, come on, bring a different solution. I will not lie, it's difficult. I think the best thing that works for me is that I call each and every member of the party. Each and every member of the party has got my number. They can call me even at 1 a.m. I respond to them. And I think the minute you do that, people, without even realizing, they just fall in love or respect you even more. That it's easier to say, Chomam, don't fight. They will listen. Because Umdia has at the back of the head that this guy was there to answer my calls when I didn't have airtime. You get a person from Gauteng calls and says, hey Nick, I'm not petrol. Even though I don't have money, I'll send 50 rand. That thing, it goes a long way. Because I said to them, as the youth, let us stick together as some sort of family. And to ascend to power, we don't need to attack any elder. Young people and old people need to coexist. We need each other. They must not shut us out. Nyati, we must not also, when we get in, shut them out. Let's all coexist, because I think we can still share a few things. I am not winning in the struggle here of getting every young person in the DA to think like that, because
And probably you don't have to. It's
others, you'd get a call to look at what this person posted, and and say, as the DA youth, we are saying this, and you're like, ish. But we try. No party is perfect. We try, and I always tell them, let's speak about the principle. If you beat me, good principle, I will support you. I'll even go to war for you. Ulu, for my friend, the one that I'm with. Yeah, sometimes it's extreme. But if he defeats me on principle, even if I didn't support him, I will go to war. You get, and I think that thing, it earns you a lot of respect. It earns you huge respect. I mean, I get calls from different people, different races, and they even ask for personal advice. I want to propose. Do you think it's a good idea? And when you create that sort of space, I think that's what we need.
You need a podcast.
That's what we need, because, people look at politicians as robots. These perfect individuals. I'm not perfect. And in the DA youth, I show them. You create that space. And I'm telling you, the minute you say Simachang up, people will follow.
Okay. We are drawing to a close, and I want you to reflect briefly on next year. We're going towards elections, and of course, you are probably you're tracking what is happening in the country, the new voices that are emerging, the old voices that are silencing, new measures, preparing for the eventuality of a coalition that might emerge post the election. Who are the most important, maybe let me not ask you so that you don't have to promote anyone, but
no, ask me.
Who are the most important voices that are coming out, and what sort of a message are they bringing that needs to be had? I'm asking this question because it enables you to look outside of your immediate environment. It's new people that might not have been part of the conversation until now, but they are probably bringing something that has not been heard as a conversation.
I follow politics a lot, and about, I think 3 months ago, when Rise Mzansi came to the forefront, their first interview, they spoke, I listened, I was like, okay, they're hitting all the right notes. Né? Then I had to reflect back in terms of my leadership journey. Politics is a difficult terrain. And I said, let me give them 2 months. And if you've analyzed, instead of going on an incline, they are somewhat stagnant. Because politics, yes, you have to say it, but you also have to back it in the ground. The second aspect is that running a political party, that thing is an institution. You have to have systems in place. That's why you see parties like Action SA, for example, they're struggling because their systems are not yet there. If you see parties like Cope, why they failed is because they did not their institution doesn't have systems. And I think in the DA, that's what we've done well. If you look at the ANC, during their, they call it 9 wasted years, but I think it has been longer, they've ignored their systems. Your policy says if Olwam does this, we must terminate his membership. The minute you don't do that, your institution will crumble, you get. So there were some sound bites there and there from different voices, but at the back of my head, it's always a matter of the institutional knowledge and the systems. Yeah. So in terms of new people in the political arena, yes, there will be different voices, but I don't think it's going to really impact South African politics. Now, what I want, in fact, I'm happy that the guy from ANC Youth League, Colin, is taking all the interviews. Because every time I listen to him, he shows me what is wrong with South Africa. I was listening to him the other day. He's saying, we will be driving nationalization of this and this and that. And the question was asked, where did you get this mandate? Those people didn't see the plenar. This man is coming there and saying they'll be driving. And I was like, he's speaking as if he only just got elected yesterday. The guy is a member of parliament. What have you done? When we speak about land, for example, I can tell you, I took the ANC to the Human Rights Commission for not giving people land. I was there with Helen, with John, with Leon Schreiber, Werner Horn. We took road there. So it's a human right violation that ANC is not giving people land. You get, because we don't just speak about people must own land. The land must be given back to the. We actually are doing something about it. Well, yeah. So
I've actually read not all of it, but Songezo Zebi's book, and I was in his book launch when he was here. There was an incident where I was also supposed to meet with Ukana when he was here. But of course, not everything would happen. It will be an interesting person also to have a conversation with as the chief organizer of the new entity. But before this Rise Mzansi, there's been that the organization that Songezo Zebi initiated. I just forgot the name, with about Tessa Duon or something. I don't want to swear now. About Tessa. And in his book, he in fact, post his book, Songezo admits that whatever I've written in the book, after going to across the country and interacting with people, I feel like some things I'd like to change them. And that is an important attribute to have, to understand that, look, I might have put this book together and I want to explain it to you, but I've already changed my view. Because as soon as you put a full stop when you write your book, the book has taught you so much. It has also changed some of the perspectives that you've had, and you can't write it perpetually. You must put a full stop at a particular time and allow the next book probably to teach, to bring you to another conversation. So that was important for me. Secondly, there was an issue of the funding that came about, and he stumbled in answering. And I guess you will still need to be clearer with some of those things, because people are not going to leave something that is certain, even though it's bad, for something that is uncertain at all. That is, people are not, it's like an optimal foraging strategy. You're not going to move unless you have better options or chances of landing onto a better patch of feeding ground and things like that. So it's an interesting conversation to have. Let me not ask you any further question, but this one, before you go, Nelson Mandela Bay, you guys were replaced by another coalition. Some of your friends are in that coalition. And are you going to leave this coalition so that you can focus on the national politics next year, so that they can be busy with the much more tedious tasks? Or are you guys still adamant that this municipality must be under your lead?
I think for us, we remember we're a federal party. So we take our mandate from the caucus, then they'll tell us as FedEx if they want government. Unfortunately for me, I sit on all of them. So the first time we took over government, I was one of the people who said, let's not take over government. Let's remain in opposition. But I was convinced to say, but Nick, you said you joined politics because you want to help people. Here's government. We have a chance to take government. Let's take it and save people. Even if we assist people for 2 months and we get removed, it's fine. Would have made a difference, at least for like 2 months. And I ended up supporting the decision up until FedEx. We negotiated, we got power to govern. People submitted a motion of no confidence. However, they submitted it and it went through. We respected that process. There are political parties that are saying, let's still fight and get back our government. As the DA, we are open for that. But our biggest principle is that we have ward councillors. They must continue working in their wards. Whether the government is blue or black or red, they must continue working in their wards. So they are still working with officials. So if government comes or the numbers say we can get government, we will take it. But if the numbers say we will not take government, we're not going to bend down the institution or not go to committee meetings. We are going to committee meetings. We are supporting initiatives that will benefit people.
I actually must give credit because I heard yesterday when there was a report, I think by the acting CFO and the COO in the municipality, that the rate uptake, the rate, what do you call collection, yes, was up to 97% as of end of March. And that would be the time that your coalition was leading. And it had come just from above 50% and further down. So that was interesting. I'm a red player. It's painful, but it's interesting to see, and maybe we should commend where work is done appropriately. And I have not seen any recent presentation on the current government, because on the current coalition, because they are there for about 30 days. And yeah, maybe take that back as a particular report.
No, thanks. And you know, with rates, what we learned in Cape Town, when Helen was mayor, she had one principle: give people services, they will pay for them. If you don't give them, then people are going to hold their money. So that's why we managed to get that high percentage, because we were doing our best to give people services. And for the benefit of our city, I hope that at least the officials continue doing the work, because it's only the political leadership that has been changed. So I honestly pray that the officials continue doing their work, so that ratepayers like yourself don't say,
I don't like paying rates. It's painful, and maybe in another conversation we will probably have a number of representatives to tackle that, because of the economy of the day, and it will be unfair to just address that question to one person or the other. But thank you very much, Nick, for coming. I truly appreciate it, and it's great to see you sort of impacting the country as you have, and keeping that rootedness also to community and doing that. And hopefully that we're able to build a better group of young people, young leaders that will take the country forward wherever they might serve. Because everywhere and everyone must actually be doing something positive towards the development of the country. Thank you so much. Sure, man.
Sure.
Sure.